Okay, so yesterday a video showed up on my homepage called Kitty and Yuri Don't Work. This is referring to the sapphic ship from the Netflix show XO Kitty, and you guys wouldn't know this, but I write for almost any ship between two women. I also have standards though, so I decided to tune in and see why this statement was made. Now I just want to preface, this video is going to be debunking the points made in that video, but I also want to be exactly clear why I decided to make this. I think it's perfectly fine to prefer another ship over the other. In this case, it would be the relationship between Kitty and Minho. In the show, you're well within your rights to ship whatever you'd like without criticism, as long as it's not illegal or immoral. But this video's title and content tries to take a very objective stance on Kitty and Yuri's relationship, at least most of it, which is what I disagree with. So I'd like to take the opposite stance and give my reasons for it. Also, you can check out this person's channel in the description if you enjoy their point of view, and let's get into it.
Starting off with one of the main reasons why them being together doesn't make sense to me. There's no reason why Kitty should be in love with Yuri. All through season 1, Yuri had been nothing but awful and mean to Kitty, and not even in a cute enemies to lovers way like Minho is with her.
Okay, starting off pretty strong. First of all, I don't really understand what constitutes cute enemies to lovers banter versus just being mean. I think this is pretty subjective, and you could make this argument with some of what Minho says to Kitty. For example, in season 1 episode 3 Kiss, Kitty takes a seat next to Minho in class, and unlike their other interactions that could easily be passed off as comedic relief for the audience, this is one of the times where he acts extremely rude for seemingly no reason, saying things like, "You need to go home," and calling her pathetic. Some could argue that this scene shows Minho being protective of Day, as it's been previously established that they're best friends, but this doesn't really make sense because Kitty is not harassing Day, as he's accused her of. She's avoiding him. And as Day's best friend, he should know that Day wants to make up with Kitty, not cut ties with her. Whereas when we look at Yuri, she does have a reason to act this way. Obviously, Yuri could turn down the attitude in terms of how she says things, but the reasons why she says them are very clear. She cannot compromise her fake relationship with Day, and this would put her relationship with Juliana at risk, which is obviously something that means so much to her, which we'll talk about later.
Let's just talk about the moment when Kitty realizes she has feelings for Yuri. The lead up to her liking Yuri is literally just Yuri being nice to her one time.
Once again, I don't really see why this invalidates the ship. A lot of crushes can be sudden and unexpected, and we know this is a trend for Kitty when we see what happens between her and Minho in season 2. That doesn't necessarily mean that those feelings are unfounded. The scene does not have to be interpreted as Kitty being completely in love with Yuri all of a sudden, just that she realizes that she's attracted to her. We start getting into more serious feelings between them in episodes 7 and 8.
The only reason Yuri is even doing this is because she realized that she's a POS after Kitty defended Yuri, even though Yuri's been nothing but a B word to her.
Now this point is true. I'll give her that, but I'm going to delve into a little bit more about why Yuri's being nice to Kitty here. Yuri was nice to Kitty because she was feeling extra guilty about keeping her and Day apart, especially since she and him were becoming very close friends. In season 1, episode 5, titled TBH, Kitty sends a letter to Day along with her mother's necklace, which ends up in Yuri's possession. Seeing how much Kitty cares about Day in this regard, along with the growing friendship Yuri has with him, and also the act of stealing the letter and necklace that Day was supposed to receive, it makes complete sense for Yuri to try and befriend Kitty, presumably planning to tell her the whole truth for Day's sake, after she's had this revelation. It's also not a coincidence that right before this act of kindness from Yuri, Day has expressed to her his fondness for their relationship, and then she acts after hearing Kitty's gratuitous defense of her. Back to the video. As I said before, this statement is completely true, yet it has no reason to be in the video, as it does not refute the legitimacy of Kitty and Yuri's actions towards each other at all. It only explains why those actions are done.
Enemies to lovers is a classic trope, as we all know, and it can be amazing if it's done right. But the key to making it work is giving us a believable development. If the writers had shown Yuri gradually warming up to Kitty, apologizing to her for her actions, and genuinely working to make amends, then maybe Kitty's feelings would make sense.
The statement is operating under the pretense that Yuri hated Kitty at the beginning of the season, and if you're viewing the show at face value, it would certainly seem that way. However, with even just a slight read into the character's motivations, it would become clear that Yuri never felt any kind of contempt or hatred towards Kitty. We understand that Yuri's fake dating Day in order to not only disprove her relationship with Juliana, but also hide her sexuality. Yuri has no reason to hate Kitty. She views being mean to her as a necessary sacrifice to keep her straight girl appearance. And what straight girl would be cool with her boyfriend's other girlfriend? This is all a means of self-preservation in Yuri's eyes, which is obviously selfish of her, but is also understandable and makes sense in the context of her character's home situation. This facade comes to a breaking point in episode 6, though.
Let's examine their relationship after Kitty realizes she has feelings. Now they are obviously friends and they've made amends and everything's good with them. So now we can see moments between them that has tension and romance. And they do have some cute moments, but the problem for me is this feels like very one-sided. Yeah, it's obvious that Kitty likes Yuri, but to me, it does not seem like Yuri has any feelings towards Kitty.
Okay, I definitely have a lot of things to say about this. Yuri is absolutely, without a doubt, into Kitty, and it's very obvious for those with eyes to see. So let's get into some examples. In Season 2, Episode 2, Never Been Kissed, Kitty tells Yuri about her upcoming date with Pravina, to which Yuri replies, "I'm jealous." Now, in the moment, she passes this off as her missing her friendship with Kitty, which I don't think is entirely forced, but this obviously has romantic undertones considering they were talking about a date. In the same episode, we see the jealousy she talks about in action. Yuri is introduced to Pravina at the party. She doesn't even say one word to her. She's looking off into the distance, sort of like she's trying to pretend she doesn't exist. It's pretty clear that this is some form of jealousy, and even Juliana realizes it. Moving on, in Season 2, Episode 3, titled New Year's Kiss, Yuri and Juliana are invited to spend the weekend at Minno's ski cabin, and Yuri tells Juliana that she can't go because she has something to attend with her mum. Yet when Kitty replies that she's going, Yuri completely changes her mind and agrees to go. This is, again, immediately noticed and called out by Juliana. Now, some might say this is just a coincidence or another misinterpretation from Juliana. However, if you know anything about storytelling, you would know that coincidences do not exist in this context. There'll be no reason for Juliana to constantly call out Yuri on her behavior towards Kitty if it meant absolutely nothing. In the same episode, Kitty and Yuri go searching for a VHS player to watch a cassette tape. When Kitty says, "What would I do without you?" we hear a couple distinct but familiar sounds play, in particular these chimes. These often play when we see Kitty falling for Yuri, for example, in Season 1, Episode 7, TIL. We, as the viewer, would automatically assume that this is Kitty's zoning out on Yuri, as she's done many times. But we then see it's Yuri who's having this experience, mirroring the countless times that Kitty has had it. We also see Yuri get flustered and break the tension to leave, which she hasn't done in any of the previous scenes, further signifying that this is specifically affecting her. And my final example, once again in New Year's Kiss, is probably the most cut and dry piece of evidence in regards to Yuri's feelings toward Kitty. There is really no reason to kiss someone who you don't have romantic feelings for, and specifically in Yuri's case, if she was truly in love with Juliana and had no romantic feelings for Kitty whatsoever, she would never have cheated on someone she's in love with to kiss someone she's not. This should be pretty clear. All the things I've stated up to this point have just explained why this happens. Oh, and Yuri also lies a lot, and it's very obvious.
It was actually Kitty's idea for you to reach out to your mom, not mine.
I don't care whose idea it was. You're not. Come on, I'm not saying yes because Kitty's going. Come on, you're into Pravina, right? And I'm in love with Juliana.
And the reason why she doesn't have any feelings for Kitty, she's already in love with Juliana. From the very beginning, the show makes it obvious that Juliana is the one for Yuri. Whether it's their secret relationship or the way Yuri lights up around Juliana, their connection is authentic and rooted in love. For example, Yuri is willing to risk everything to keep her relationship with Juliana a secret so they can stay together, even as going as far as to stage a fake relationship with Day. That's not the kind of commitment you make if your heart isn't fully in it.
Now, of course, Yuri was in love with Juliana at some point, but being in love with someone does not automatically forbid you from developing any new feelings or falling out in love. I think it's clear that Yuri is developing romantic feelings for Kitty despite also having feelings for Juliana. For example, one reason why this might be happening is because of the fact that Kitty provides Yuri with something Juliana cannot. This something is the ability to be vulnerable with Yuri, especially when it comes to her mum, which is an extremely significant part of Yuri's struggles as a character. In Season 2, Episode 2, Yuri tells Kitty that Juliana gets triggered by mom drama. This isn't Juliana's fault at all, but that's not really relevant in this conversation. This is also the same reason that Juliana was unable to provide advice for Yuri about her mother when Kitty was able to. I think this clearly shows a deterioration in Yuri and Juliana's relationship, especially when we see someone else is providing what Yuri needs, and also Juliana's jealousy towards Kitty and Yuri's relationship, which is completely justifiable, but does not constitute a healthy relationship.
Even when Kitty and Yuri kiss, immediately Yuri regrets it and is thinking about Juliana. She even tells Kitty that she doesn't not want anything to do with her so she can get back with Juliana. Yuri
regretting her decision to kiss Kitty makes complete sense because she cares for Juliana immensely. However, this does not mean that the kiss meant nothing. The scene in Season 2, Episode 4, Kiss and Tell, and this scene in the next episode, Kissing Cousins, show Yuri completely spiraling and trying to reject her obvious feelings for Kitty in order to preserve a relationship that she's taken for granted. There are two obvious truths here. One, Yuri has feelings for Kitty, and two, Yuri loves Juliana. These two statements are not mutually exclusive, although some seem to think they are. It is completely insane to think that Yuri would compromise a relationship that she cares about so much for no reason at all. The way Yuri acted in these scenes is absolutely horrible, but also incredibly sad, and she's clearly pushing down her feelings for Kitty, as well as Kitty's feelings for her.
Juliana and Yuri are so obviously for each other that Yuri's actress herself says that her and Juliana are better than her and Kitty.
This is the last point I'm going to talk about, but there's not really much to say here. A cast member preferring another ship over the other doesn't mean anything in regards to whether that ship is objectively good or whether they work, because it's an opinion. I don't really know why it's in the video. Even the lead actress in To All the Boys I've Loved Before said that she prefers another ship over the other, but we all know what ended up being Endgame. Simply put, doesn't matter. Okay, so the rest of the video is pretty subjective. She says that she thinks Kitty and Yuri will be better off as friends and that Mino and Kitty are likely to be endgame, which is a perfectly fine opinion to have. I just wanted to address the points made in this video, and I think they missed quite a bit of subtext when talking about the foundation of Kitty and Yuri's relationship. Okay, that's about it for this video. I think I addressed most of the points she made. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd be interested to know if you guys agree with what she said, what I said. If you have anything to add on, I'd love to hear it. And thanks for watching.
It's also crazy because being gay isn't a choice. You will be gay. Sorry, you have no choice here.